Welcome back to the Perfect Lab Podcast. I'm Mark Jager. This is Mark Kilgore. He goes by Kilgore. I go by Jager. And today we have a GridLife legend. We have Adam Jabay with us today.
What's up,
and we're
guys?
just going to talk about all the GridLife things, just past, present, future, and anything else that me and Kilgore can really come up with. Adam, how's it going, sir?
First off, I hate being on camera. I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm out in the sun all day, so my face is all red and shiny. And so your viewers are just going to have to listen, not watch. But it'll be what it'll be, man.
You look like you've been digging some ditches today. So
yeah, I just mowed my lawn also. And yeah, it was hot like the last week, so I was kind of sunburned.
Well, I'm going to say this. You're hot off of a Northern California event, Laguna Seca. You have pit race coming up here shortly. I just have to ask you this just to start off. How was your impression of GridLife Laguna? How'd that go for you guys?
So it was our third year, and I think it was like our 6th year going to California. As far as the event goes, that event, I think I talked to you a little bit at Laguna. I definitely talked to somebody about this. I think it was you. And it was like at first, like the track was really tough to deal with because like they were brand new and like the county had just thrown the management in and like they didn't know what you needed permit wise. And so we like really struggled the first year just to even get the event off the ground because there were like so many inspections. You needed exit signs for tents without walls, fire extinguishers.
Oh my gosh.
That's actually a thing, Kilgore. You needed exit signs for tents without walls. We just had to have an exit sign as part of their code. So a
tent without walls, isn't that like any direction you can get out from under the tent?
Yeah,
like
just walk
Yes.
and you can exit. So that was, a lot of learning curves. And some of that was like down to the track themselves, like not knowing even like how to operate a big event. Because like, when we started asking questions that year, I remember having a conversation with them. And this wasn't something I was super directly involved with. This was like at the time, the site ops team and stuff. But like, I remember being on a phone call and they were like, oh yeah, we asked them about like permitting for something. And they were like, oh, we should probably ask the county. And like, they had done I think they had just done Rensport reunion. It was like a huge event and they hadn't like done anything right per the county, but like the county owns them. So it's not like they can like actually get in trouble. So it was like a giant learning curve and we did a whole lot of things that like we had never had to deal with before. We got fogged in like I think every day that event, and it was just like a mad thrash. And the next year was better because they knew us a little bit. There was some, new management, and like the drivers knew us a little bit more, and the event went a little better fog wise. But this year, like we didn't have any fog delays, which is great. The very first day of Laguna Seca in 23. I don't think we started until almost 11 a.m. because there was so much fog. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. Wow. So you're like starting off just on the wrong foot. Same thing with last year. It was like 10 o'clock before you could fire up on Friday and Saturday, I think 9 maybe on Friday. But this year, great weather. Weather couldn't have been more awesome. We basically got to where we needed to be dollar-wise with spectators because spectators actually pay the bills at a place like that. People don't know like all the little things that have to go into something like that. And all those things cost $1,000 and there's like 800 of them. So there's just like a big, scary amount of money. But California like really showed up and we basically got where we needed to be, which is great. I thought the event overall was good. That crowd doesn't really care about music. They really come for motorsports, which is awesome. I think that's the coolest part about that event. That one and like Lime Rock. The fact that the crowd like is, they don't really care if there's music. They are just there to like hang out, watch racing. The camping element of that event has gotten very cool. Like if you're doing track inspections on the track and stuff, being able to like look around to both sides, especially around turn 5 and just like see the whole track is like ringed with campers, just like having a good time. That's part of my like favorite parts of every event is like doing a track inspection or like picking up garbage off the racetrack before Rush or GLTC or Time Attack, and the drunk campers at turn 5 are like, "Don't burn out," and you like honk at them and they lose their mind. It's like that part is actually great when you get like real racing fans. So it's super cool. And before we started, you were talking about how like some of this is actually for the fans now, and that's like kind of interesting thought. I hadn't really thought of it from a driver's perspective. It kind of is like there are actual fans of GridLife Motorsports, which is wild. So like, and they're not just fans of a driver du jour or drifting. Like they actually there for the entirety of the party, and they're there till Sunday night, which is great. So. But yeah, good event overall. I was pretty stoked on Laguna this year. I have not been stoked on Laguna in years past, and like came away from this one being like, yeah, kind of want to do Laguna again, which is great.
I mean, it was definitely my first year. Kilgore is your second.
That's right. Yep.
So I'll give my 2 cents.
You had a great camp spot, by the way.
I loved my camp spot. My friend Rob thought his camp spot was better. He sucks, so he's wrong. Definitely my camp spot was pretty awesome. Looking over the track the way I did. So it was really cool just to be able to check that out. Also, I liked it because I could watch people drive in. So like I got like free reign to watch every competitor kind of cruise in and see.
Yeah, you're right at
the
top of the main hill. Yeah.
So that was nice. Obviously for my own self, like during the event, I spent most of the time down in the pits talking to all the time attackers in the group, hanging out with Kilgore, doing all that fun stuff. Which kind of, it's like pro and con. It's like every event I've ever been to when you're, I don't want to say working because I wasn't really working, but just like it was really hard to even like keep up. I kept having to like pull out my phone and checking on Speed Hive to see what times people were doing and stuff like that. That's where it's kind of funny as a race fan, going to an event like this. It's always kind of one of those weird things where you're like, man, if I was watching the stream, I would actually have a better idea of what was going on holistically.
Almost the same as like with pro football. You're like, I have no idea what's happening right now.
Yeah.
There's no commentary. I can't see anything.
So it's one of those like very interesting aspects, but obviously I love
you put out a ton of content pieces too. We appreciate that. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. All the drivers were amazing. I felt bad because there's a lot of guys I'd never even met before, so I just literally like walking into their camps and kind of being like, so who's the driver here? Like who do we got to try to figure out, those type of things. It was great to talk to all the people, and I was really, really excited that everybody was so welcoming. I mean, hell, the first night we got there, walk up on some guys, and next thing you know, throwing you a Nintendo controller, and I'm playing Super Smash Bros. Up against their trailer. So, you can't be mad about that. Really appreciate that. That's some good crowd there.
Yeah, some of that stuff is like, that's actually, it's cool to me that some of what I always thought was like super special about like Midwest 8-9 years ago is like, oh, they're figuring it out in California. They're not just like going to the Mexican restaurant at 5 p.m. Like let's hang out. Like, yeah, this is what we're going to do now. So
definitely some really nice stuff there. Obviously the track is something for me, and probably many people growing up. Like, you played on Gran Turismo, you played on all these racing games, and you ran Laguna Seca. Like, that was a track that, even though I've only ran on it twice before, like before I even set foot on the track, I already knew the track. So definitely something that's really cool about running.
Yeah, it's like its own. Most tracks, like, they don't have this. They don't have this mystique about them that like just the corkscrew has. Like, it's it doesn't matter what's happening. That, like, let's go up to the corkscrew. Like, we're just gonna go Laguna Seca. We're going to corkscrew. It's wild.
It's such a cool factor. The one thing that kind of I will say this. I always get this little bit of a vibe where I'm like, man, I wish I had a car right now. Like, I get that way because I'll go to these events and I'll be watching and I'm like, I just wish I was driving. Like, it goes down that road. But, to each, have your time, have your moments, and do your thing. Kilgore, what'd you think? How did the event go for you?
It was really good. I really enjoyed going out there, and that was one reason why Jager earlier said that he had more fun hanging out with my wife. She was more fun than I was, but that was also probably because I was working on the car the whole time. But last year I had I'd kind of gotten hooked up with the turn-in concept guys, and they were going out there, and we were kind of like, hey, like this is like a kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. I can take my car, I can ship it out there, and I can go drive. So she was super supportive, and she was like, okay, let's do it. And then as soon, like not even as soon as last year was over, like midway through, I was already thinking, like, talking to Tony, I was like, all right, well, like, what can we do next year? And she's like, well, hold up, wait, next year. Right. And so, again, this year, we even expanded further. And again, because we were working with Turn In and they could get the car, I bought tickets to Road America. Again, another kind of iconic track that I said, like, that would really be something fun where we've got this year to do it. Let's do it. I went ahead and bought Lime Rock and Laguna, and I was like, I'll probably only do one of those. It's just going to be a lot to do both. Well, now I ended up doing all three, Road America, Lime Rock, and Laguna. And again, like going back to Laguna is sort of twofold for me. One, the facilities, again, as we've said, the aura around the racetrack. The racetrack's good. I would always say, I'd always encourage people to be like, oh, if you have the chance to go to Laguna, you should absolutely go drive it. It's okay. Like, turns like 3, 4, 5, like 6 is okay. It's a little intimidating, but once you kind of get it, it's basically you have like 4 90-degree turns one after the other. And so, it's like that's okay. It could be better, but it's as you said, Adam, like the corkscrew through 9, 10, like even the front straight, especially
the kink, the turn one. Oof.
Well, yeah. And especially right, like, yeah, right. And you're talking about like, I think it's probably the scariest in the street GT cars. Cause we're talking about, 600 horsepower, 120 to 125 miles an hour over that crest with no aero.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm watching the street mod guys and I'm like, oh God, I wish I had that aero.
Splitter right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I drove it. I drove it the first year. We had DE in 23, and we had a loaner Hyundai Elantra N for the whole year. That was a pace car.
Yeah.
And we were going to give it back to Hyundai at the end of the event. So I looked at the brake pads, I looked at the tires. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go do some DE sessions in this Hyundai. And that thing was shockingly fast. Like it felt like a 12-second car, I think I was going over turn 1 about 10 miles an hour faster than GLTC was. And the first, second, third time, like the car would move over like 6 feet to the right. And there's no aero. It's up high, it's stock, it's bouncy, and like pretty scary. Like it kind of freaked me out.
Sketchy. Sketchy for
and
sure.
I'm on like,
absolutely
Econo like mileage tires, whatever they come, from the factory.
And the brake zone comes quite quickly as you come into turn 2, as you come over that crest, and you're just trying to keep the car under the control. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I got to brake.
I was real stoked about ABS in that brake
yeah. So, but one of the other things that I love going out there is just because of the BMW scene. I mean, Street GT, the podium was BMWs. I think the podium sprint was all BMWs and one Porsche.
Yeah.
So I always
cool,
enjoy
no Corvettes.
Yeah. I always enjoy going out there because I get to race. It's usually me. We might have a couple other BMWs, but in terms of consistent competitors, we've got Jamie and his 135, Chris Smith and his 135. We might have a couple other people and maybe some M2s. We've got Jackie and him and his M2. But there's usually not a ton of BMWs. There's a handful maybe, but like going out there and there's so many BMWs and I can benchmark my car and my driving against so many other competitors. That's one reason I love going out there as well. And this year again,
they're so different. They're so different.
Yeah. So I absolutely love it, and I want to take a moment. I want to tip my hat. We called out a lot of SoCal and California West Coast drivers. And I feel like this year, especially with the SDC guys, I mean, they brought a ton of guys, but like those, like they showed up. They showed up this year and I was impressed. So kudos to them and the West Coast guys for showing up.
We opened like 20 more time attack spots because we rearranged the schedule because we're like, we're not going to get a totally awesome field of GL, GT, and TC. Like, let's talk about combining them, which actually worked way better than I thought. It's not going to be a long-term plan, but so we opened up another run group of Time Attack effectively, and like they all, like, there was drivers, like, because we had gotten a lot of inquiry about it, and they showed up. There's a lot of Cali drivers, so
Yeah. Good for them. We appreciate that, and I think it's always so much fun to see. And I sort of wish this year. I mean, I think what we had maybe 5 to 10. 10 might be generous. Sort of normal, if I want to call it normal. GridLife drivers kind of make the
regular.
trek out there. Yeah, regulars.
It was probably across all fields. It was including drift, which we actually have like a lot of drifters that like follow us around. It's probably 25, but yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But, yeah.
In terms of Time Attack, yeah, it seemed like there's not as many, but I always love seeing sort of the regulars battle the West Coast guys and sort of seeing who comes out on top and how
I'll tell
that,
you what,
how
the
how
GridLife
that
regulars
turns out.
are the GridLife regulars are a couple. They're kind of baddies. They're kind of bad men. In the words of James Hutton, we got a bunch of bad men driving around here. So, yeah, you guys don't suck. Never expected it to be like that.
Yeah. But I love seeing the guys like, I mean, huge props to Bailey Woods. I love seeing him show
That was
up.
great. That was super cool.
I was so excited to see him and Jackie battle it out. And then the Fast X guys also showed up in the Lotus as well. So that was killer. Track Mod's been killer out there the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Man, it's
and
awesome.
Like there's something about Laguna Seca that brings out like the wildest Pikes Peak cars and just the weirdest stuff. And so like Group A is kind of nuts and super diverse and kind of fun. It's very unique. It is kind of like it's kind of fun to like get a totally different view of like, oh, we're doing time trials with like this now. Like, it's a super unique event as far as Group A, especially because like its proximity to a lot of the Pikes Peak, like upper echelon heavy hitter kind of things. So super cool cars.
Yeah. Let me add 2 things to that, which Adam, that's a great point. One, I could be back of Group A, maybe top of Group B, like top 5 of Group B at most normal tracks for us.
Right.
I was buried in like the middle or the back of Group B. There were so many fast cars.
There's a ton of unlimited in track.
There were so many fast cars that I was like, this sucks. Like, I've got to adjust my strategy because normally if I'm at the front of Group B, I've got some clean space. But like when you're in the middle or the back of Group B, like it is such a cluster that you've got to kind of figure out like how to get in good laps, which it is what it is. Like, that's all part of the Time Attack strategy. Yeah. But like I had to adjust what we were doing, and Jager and I were having conversations of like, let's think about doing this or that, or maybe waiting to go out. The last session before Podium Sprint, I pulled a Jamie and I sat on pit road for a little bit to try and get some space to kind of let these guys go out, and make sure I didn't get caught up in anything, and it worked out. But
so many people don't do what I tell them to do either. Like, even Jamie, like, I don't like that strategy. Go out for a lap and come in, and we'll find you space, and your tires will be hot. Like, just go out with them, warm it all up, and come on in and give me that hands in the window. And
that's fair. What we were specifically trying to do was we were trying to get tire temps ready for the Podium Sprint. So if I went out and warmed them up and then came in and kind of sat, and is that going to adjust the tire temps at all or anything like that? I don't know. I think that's fair. It may not do that much. But
if you were already solidified into Podium Sprint, like, might not change your event too much. With anything but tire management strategy.
Yeah. But like you said, those Pikes Peak cars, like, it's wild to me that they'll just come out, not change a thing, and they'll be like, oh yeah, we're just going to run it, and we're just going to run it and have a good time. And I'm just
and like, if you ban up Pikes Peak at anger, or like in anger, even a street car doesn't have enough suspension travel. Like, they might, they need like 5 inches of suspension travel to do it halfway decently. Like, it's such a rough road, even when it's fully paved now. There's some bad spots in it, and a super smooth racetrack like that is a totally different animal.
Yeah.
Interesting cars though. They make for fun Group A.
Yeah, for sure.
to say the least. Yeah, and
except for when one of them goes straight up and down.
poor Robin, man.
Yeah, I was I was actually like, for anybody who hasn't seen or whatever, his wing, his front element failed like at the jump that is turn 1 basically, and the car went full over vertical. It was probably at about 100 degrees and then came slapping back down. So his body was like, I don't know, 30 feet in the air and then like whack back down, and that's what hurt his back. But I pulled up on scene maybe 30 seconds afterwards, and I was stunned with how good the tub looked. Like, it looked like you just bolt new corners on it and be fine. Like full carbon monocoque and stuff. Like, did a great job. But man, that's some G-forces on your spine. Good grief. I'm so glad he's all right.
Yeah, I was really glad to see that he was all right, because that was a scary moment there.
Yeah.
But
racing's scary.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like, that's what it is. Racing. This is why, again, we talked about this a little bit last week, but it's why we have all these stringent safety rules and why things need to be the way they need to be, and that's why we always kind of push people to do as much safety as you possibly can. Sometimes it's one of those things where don't splurge and buy that next mod for that next $3,000. Maybe buy that Hans device, maybe buy that Halo seat, maybe buy those things. So
when before GridLife, I was on some SCCA rules committees, and the phrase was always, well, the rules should all be in red because they're all written in blood. And it's like, oh, that's morbid. Like, it's actually
wow.
Yeah, kind of written in blood.
Yeah.
Especially when you look back at like the 60s and stuff, and like pro race cars just had like rear 4-point bars at best, and like there's no headrests and big changes. Even like Sunday Cup is way safer than like a 63 Ferrari 250. Yeah.
So speaking of rules, I'll ask some terrible questions.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys looking for big rule changes going into next year? Did you guys squeak out some ideas, some things that
I've got a whole running list. Let me pull it up here.
Oh no, running list.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I can't. I got to buy a new boroscope too. Just had an alarm come up, tell me to buy a boroscope. Boroscope died. Got to buy a boroscope for Club TR, so make sure they're not cheating. What do we got? What did I have? 2020.
I'm just curious, just in the sense that
I don't even remember. That's why I have to look it up.
Yeah. Let me ask. Let me ask this, but before we kind of get into that, which is going to lead into this, which is like, in terms of the schedule as well as rule updates, when do you guys really start like in earnest talking about those internally for the following year? April.
As soon as we start.
I
think I made this. I made the 2025-2026 rules changes doc maybe in May. No, it was made at Road Atlanta in April. But the scheduling, like, we're besides the typical battles of just trying to keep the company afloat. We've been talking about 2026 dates since April. We're hoping to have them out like well before PRI. This year PRI, like it was actually like 40 minutes before we had our like state of the grid thing is when the schedule was done. Like we were like doing stuff at the event still. We're like waiting to hear about this change and that change. Same thing with 2023. My right-hand guy, John, couldn't come to 2023 CMP because he had already taken the time off and the date changed at PRI. We made the announcement, and he wasn't there. He was working at an Extreme Experience event back before he worked exclusively for us. He sends me a text during the State of the Grid because he's watching it. Somebody's got like a Facebook thing going. He's like, "Wait, CMP date change?" I'm like, "Yeah, 45 minutes ago." So yeah, stuff like that it's very fluid. Like, you're dealing with a lot of moving pieces. Everybody's like, "Why don't you come to my track on my favorite weekend of the year?" And like, that doesn't work. It took us 9 years to get to Watkins Glen once. Like, some of the stuff is just really hard because you're especially in. It's probably going to be a little bit easier as the hobby's gotten saturated with events, but also like it's really hard to produce an event because the prices have gotten crazy. So we're seeing a little bit less competition for events going into 25 or going into 26, but like who knows if that's real. But we're also trying to work with, and I apologize, I have a little bit of head cold now if you're hearing that, but we're trying to work always with like Formula Drift because we share a lot of partners and we share a lot of drivers. Work with, try to stay off of IMSA and SRO weekends because we share a bunch of staff. Just a whole bunch of like dumb little considerations. And you don't want to be at the wrong track at the wrong weekend. Like our Watkins Glen weekend a couple of years ago was like maybe the wettest, coldest weekend ever. So that ends up being like not an event that produces a break-even scenario when spectators don't show up, because we still had like 1,500 spectators at that event, but like I don't know if any of them actually showed up. They bought tickets, but you have to break even in order to be a thing, being an org still. So that's kind of always the goal. Is like, hey, let's just pay the bills, guys. So,
I mean, legitimately, right? If you're talking about, you really only have about 8 months of what you guys actually, look at running.
Yeah.
So that's, 32, 33 weekends.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about a full IMSA SRO, right? Well, there goes like 12 weekends, maybe even more. And then you've got other weekends. So now you're you're legitimately looking at like, okay, maybe
where can we go on these 12 weekends?
15 to exactly.
And travel also, you don't want to be like, and we've had to do this a little bit, but like you don't want to be coast to coast to coast to coast. You don't want to swirl around one place, go to another place, go back. Like some of that is a consideration as well. You like to start in one spot and kind of work your way around is ideal, but it's pretty impossible. Even for like our semi trailer, we don't own a semi tractor. We just load haul. We have this old Kentucky moving trailer that I bought a few years ago, and it holds most of our possessions in the world. And it costs a lot more to move it back coast to coast than it does to just go like point. Like that could be a $20,000 fuel savings, just if we think of events correctly. So a bunch of little considerations and times of like flights. Like spring break is an expensive time to fly to one place and it's cheap for others. And we're flying staff and we're flying, we have to consider hotels for spectators and all that stuff. So.
How many staff members do you guys have that roll to each event?
It depends. Like a CMP, which is like a mid-size, smaller festival. Motorsports will have like 15, 16 in total. That's like 40 people. And that's like grid workers and tech and timing and scoring and clerk of the course and all the dumb stuff. But like a Midwest festival where we're building a city in a field and we might have 10, 12,000 people on site and like 30,000 through the weekend, we have to operate 24 hours a day, and you have to feed people and you have to clean out toilets and you have to pick up garbage, and like the garbage staff is like 10 people for that event. Garbage and striping of the campsites, and overall that's like usually 105 to 120 people working the event. So a lot of moving pieces, a lot of people smarter than me organizing a lot of details and schedules and sleeping arrangements and food times and how do you get people food and when does the dumpster come and what time do the porta potties get sucked out. And
food is actually one of the hardest things. Like, and I hate to say it like this, but like when you're having all this staff and they're all doing these things, like, and I'll just throw Kyle, the announcer, out there, right? Yeah. Like, it's like, so he's got to announce, do all his stuff, and then he's got to find time to run from announcing to go grab food, have that. Not to mention if he wants a snack at any time during the day, like it is.
And sometimes that's easier than others. Like sometimes at Midwest, he's like 100 feet from the tent, but at like Laguna Seca, he's about 1.5 miles from where food is, and Road America kind of probably about 1 mile from where food is, depending on where you're parking the truck and where they're announcing from and stuff. But we even have at the bigger events, we've got to have like a runner on staff that can like solve a problem, go to Walmart, grab a thing, or like bring food, or like, oh, we need 25 more cases of ice, or we need a pallet of water, or, all like you have to have people just to do because it's so many little things. And if you do it wrong, you turn into Firefest real fast.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, everybody saw the documentary and now we're terrified. So, best practices.
We will,
and some of it also comes down to like, what is the local, township or whoever is in charge, like what would they allow you to do, and like how much approval do you need? For Midwest Festival, somebody from our staff goes to like 10 or 12 township meetings, basically the whole year. Somebody goes to Michigan and goes to the township meeting and like briefs them on dates and then on traffic pattern plans, and then what do we need from the roadway commission, and they always hit us up for like donations for the golf outing for the seniors. And so you got to like have a relationship with these like villages and
communities.
The same kind of thing with San Francisco. Obviously, we're not sending people to San Francisco to township meetings, but like you're on a lot of calls with a lot of people, and a lot of it is just relationship building and maintenance. And like Gingerman, Mark's been in Gingerman. The road into Gingerman is what, 600 feet long, 500 feet long. It's like 2.25 cars wide. There was one year where we're just like, just let the drivers come in at 10 a.m. It'll be fine, right? And then we backed up Phoenix Road, which is the local highway, for hours, and that was bad. And then Spectator Ingest was like, they all decided they wanted to come first thing on Saturday morning, and then like, you got to get somebody out there, get people into a field because we can't block the road because of ambulances. And so now we do like a 5-mile traffic reroute on farm roads, and we got to have like, the flashing roadway signs at all those points in order to keep the main road clear. You got to run them down farm roads and then back in the side entrance, and then we stage the drivers out at Walmart and call them in with like a restaurant app, so that we don't clog up the main road. I'll call 5 or 6 at a time, and they're already processed. They already got their wristbands and their stickers and everything, like these dumb little things in order to just keep doing the events. And it gets smoother and smoother every year. But you feel really lucky when you've got a facility like a Road America or similar that has like such a big staging lot, and you've got just the ability to just like, bring all the people and park them in that field, and then we'll just deal with it. And you don't have to think about these things, but like not every track's built that way. So
I was going to ask, which one do you think over your time has been the most difficult?
Depends. Yes, all of them. But realistically, like Gingerman, we have to do the most, but we're also the most comfortable at that track because we've been hosting. Chris and I hosted there for the first time in 2004. So like this is our 22nd year of hosting that track of varying levels. We'll have 50-person events and we'll have 15,000 people on site at other ones. But you have to do the most, but also like we know everybody. We could like text the sheriff. Like it's like you just know everybody, and they've all been there and they trust us. And like if it's great, it's a great place to operate, but you don't have much in the way of toilets or services or whatever. The
concrete.
Yeah, places to park. Like run out of paddock. We've like mowed down so much field there in the last 5-6 years. Like it's just grass that you're mowing down, but if they mow it 3 or 4 times, it becomes usable. We've even had to. I think we trenched. I want to say it was like a 1/4 mile. We trenched and ran water lines for water filling stations, and now we know the person who you have to get the water tested by in order to get a temporary camping permit, which costs $1,600, and you have to do it 82 days ahead of time, and all these like a lot of. This is not what I like. I'd rather write Time Attack and Touring Cup rules, guys. Like this stuff is not that fun. But then you've got other facilities, which like Road America, they can just like, they just bring in all the people and like flip the switches and unlock the gates, and like it works. But also that comes at an extreme cost. Like, and something like that, in order to give up a prime weekend, they want to have a whole rev share plan, and it's got to work for them. Otherwise the board won't approve, and blah, 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 blah. So, they're like completely polar opposite problems, but they're definitely both problems. And then you get like, you get other tracks where like the Mid-Ohio like has a new security team that yells at everybody every year. It's a brand new team and they're angry in a different way. every single year. And the front office staff, like, we've never even met them, but we've been on a million calls with them and emails with them, but like they never come. Like, so you just gotta, you always gotta figure it out at Mid Ohio. So like, it's just a great piece of asphalt. Totally new team every year. So.
Thought you were going somewhere a little different there for a minute.
Oh God, yeah. Mid Ohio has always been the one that I've always just had such a question mark about, just in terms of like, you go like this is a pro level track. You have have IndyCar coming here, and yet
they
like
own that IndyCar event though. That's their sanction. Like they host it. The only thing they care about is their IndyCar event. And we're always real close to it. So like they really don't want to staff the people. So like we get because they have to save them up, for their IndyCar event.
Sure.
And so we've always gotten like kind of the shaft, but like it's also like one of my favorite places to drive. So
sure. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
At Road America, I was unbelievably impressed when they had, and I believe that they were all staffed by Road America, but I mean they had so many workers at the roundabouts and just stationed throughout the park, literally the park of directing people where to go. They knew what to do because they know that facility so well, right?
Yeah,
I mean they're working there all the time.
Huge events. So like it was this is what we do.
Yeah.
It
was so efficient.
And they've been on a planning basis. It's like they're very detailed. It's also pretty intimidating when I'm like on a construction job site and you dial into a teleconference with the Road America staff, and I've got, like I said, I've got my picture of my Civic with my Lambo doors up, cruising around Blackhawk. That was like from a GRM photo shoot, because I'm probably on a ladder doing something construction wise, because I also run a construction company. And the Road America staff is around, like, it's like 7 folding tables. They're all wearing like polos, and there's like 35 people, and they're in like a giant conference room, and they're asking you what's going to happen. And luckily I don't have to talk that much anymore. I've got smarter people like doing that stuff, but like it's really weird. Everybody's in a polo and they're all like more organized than the next person. And like that's what you get at a facility like that like wants the event, but also like wants to do it right. Like that's like peak easy to operate with, realistically. If it wasn't for just how expensive it is to do it, like that event would be like so easy, because they're so good. It comes in all flavors. Lime Rock is similar. Like Lime Rock is the best, the nicest staff to deal with, and like it's like a pro facility, but it's also like club sized. So it's not so big and so crazy far apart, and it's a center paddock, so you can get to everything interior. You don't have to drive across the racetrack or around or whatever. Tracks that are really good at running big events, if they're in your corner and they really want a GridLife to work, like it's the best. It's the best. If they don't, it's a fight, which has happened in the past before too. So, happened also at Road America. Like the old staff, they just like kind of butted heads with us. So, but yeah, kind of like I've used the analogy of like moving in with your college roommate, and you're like, why is your dirty laundry there? Why do you do the dishes this way? Like you got like all these dumb little like, oh, so that's how you do it? Gross. Like that's kind of what it feels like on like the Thursday before an event.
Here at the Perfect Lab Podcast, we're happy to introduce Whoosh Bespoke Wheels as a sponsor of the show. Whoosh Bespoke was born out of necessity. Their race team struggled to find wheels that offer the perfect fit, strength, durability, and that big old thing, a reasonable price. The people behind Whoosh Bespoke are racers and engineers seeking engineering excellence, and they offer precision forged wheels crafted by racers for racers, with a product lineup that includes a wide range of options from monoblock to modular wheels, including 2- and 3-piece wheel designs, all engineered from the finest materials, although they do primarily use 6061 T6 forged aluminum, but they do offer things as high of quality as a magnesium alloy. So this really can work for any setup you're trying to go for. Customization is at the heart of what they do at Whoosh Bespoke. You can tailor your wheels with custom sizes, offsets, finishes, and even options like custom lettering. adding two-tones. Their colors include both standard and premium finishes, as well as special finishes like brushed, hand-polished, and even paint to sample. Every set of wheels produced exceeds the JWL standards and meets the rigorous WCEC quality standards, and they are tested by real people with real cars racing all around the world. And guess what? Me and Kilgore, we're also going to be part of that team. So we're going to be putting these things to the test. We're putting them on our cars. Kilgore's going to be repping out and going through all the time attack season. I'm going to be beating them up at HPDE days and just having a good time with them. So I want you to go take a look at them and make sure you give them a follow on all their socials. It's whooshautomotive.com, Whoosh Automotive on all the socials. Go check them out. To not make you not put you in a spotlight here, but give the viewers, give the racers an idea of what an average GridLife costs. Just give them an understanding of the amount of investment that GridLife has into their party.
Totally depends on the track. And everybody's like, "Oh, if you didn't do music, it would be way cheaper." Well, music almost always pays its own bills by bringing more spectators. Like that's it just, and it also makes it look cooler for everybody. But like Midwest Festival, to do it correctly with the right insurance and the right amount of security, and all the pre-planning, like that event investment is like $1.35 million. And we're there for like, we have people on site for like 12 days for that event. I think the budget for Laguna was $830,000. Road America like 1.3 also. I
only wanted to emphasize that just because
it's not a cash cow at all. No.
I think some of our listeners don't quite understand, and I love you explaining all of the idiosyncrasies into these events. This isn't something where you just like called up Laguna and was like, "Hey, I want to throw an event there, and I want to throw it in September. So I'll see you September 23rd. Okay, see ya."
Nope.
And then you guys showed up. Like that's
like
not how
50,000 emails and days and days of conference calls. Even the budget takes like a week for some of these big events, just of like getting bids and figuring out if you're getting ripped off, and some of our newer site ops team and like the general management team is like they're getting so dialed in, like, oh yeah, so we can get the same amount of this if we get it from here, and like maybe this team, maybe you can't give them a budget, maybe you ask them what it costs, and then when they come back, then you say, I've only got insert $10,000 less, and it turns out they can almost always make it happen. Like you have to turn into a negotiator too, in order to make it, because like usually you're running flat, and like if you sell enough t-shirts, like yeah, we can exist tomorrow. Like that's how tight some of this stuff is. If it wasn't for partners and stuff like Falcon and Toyo and FCP Euro and all these companies that like see us as a place to create content and like engage customers, it just wouldn't work. Like, it would not work, because it's a 3,000 hour a year job for a lot of our employees. So it's not like you can just bring them in on the Thursday before and have it work. So
yeah,
well, and that's just where I really wanted you to share, and I'm really glad you did share all that like backstory with the planning phase.
You don't need to make clips of how much the events cost, please. Those numbers are real.
I think it really helps, like, and this might cue into some other realms that we might go to,
sure.
But I think this might help people understand when you go online and you're saying, "Hey, I want to buy this event ticket. I want to get to this event," and people are like, "Oh my God, it cost $1,000. What the heck?"
Well, and also like a sound-free day at Laguna costs so much more than a regular day at Laguna, because they've only got, I forget what it is, they've only got like 15 sound-free days, and then they've got like 15 105s, and so even just getting a couple of sound-free days, like I want to say to add no sound to Laguna Seca for one more day, like to do 3 days of no sound would cost an extra $60,000. in the rental. So like
Wow.
sound 105 to 0 decibel limits or unlimited, whatever. I think that's about a $60,000 difference just for like the Friday or the Sunday, whatever the schedule dictates.
Yeah.
You're not going to bring out Wild Time Attack with 86 decibel sound. Like it just doesn't exist. So,
So,
and I know that was something that at least for me, I saw on social media. Like there was a little blip in the orchestra where people were saying like, "Oh man, there was a Friday, or I think it was Thursday, for a day. There was a day, and people were like, "What the heck? How come this isn't unlimited? This should be unlimited."
Friday wasn't unlimited.
Yeah, Friday was 105. Yeah. Although
if your car's freaking over 105,
we only had one person break sound.
So, but and that's what I was trying to get at is I saw what it looked like, everybody out running, and it didn't seem like it. Now I do know Gabe Zamora did put a different exhaust on so that he could run on Friday. Obviously there's things you can do, but going back to that point, like for people to understand, for you guys to say, "Hey, I want another day of unlimited sound,"
so much money.
In theory, that would have been $60,000 more.
And then the event loses like $60,000.
Yeah,
you can't charge an extra grand for driver tickets. If it's one more sound for a day. Like even the drama in TC for a couple of days was that like, oh, the dyno didn't make it. Like dyno broke at Joliet. We tried to get parts. GridLife owns two-wheel drive chassis dyno, and it follows us around. And then like the budgets were looking so tight, and most of the parts came, and one of us was going to drive it out. But then it's like, okay, we got to fly an operator because we got several people that are good at operating, and I'm one of them, but I can't do it while also doing my other job now, jobs. So I inquired with like some of the local California guys. The only guy that was available wanted $2,500 a day. So like 4 days of dyno. I mean, yeah, sure, we'd recoup a little bit we'd recoup 2,000 of it over 4 days, but like $10,000 to run a dyno, I just don't have it. Like it's not that I don't want to have every possible aspect, but like this is still a small business. It's just like it's a tough one to run, and it's a small one. So.
Yeah. And let's contrast again. And this has been one of my things. I know there's been, especially on the time attack side, a bunch of complaining about the cost, all of these things. Adam's heard it all, but let's contrast these budgets that Adam just talked about. So years ago, when I was involved with the SCCA and we were hosting events at Barber was way back when it was, it's still a fairly expensive track, but just a club weekend, right, for the SCCA, that was generally $100,000 event that the clubs were spending, right?
Just to actually turn the track on.
Yeah. That's a pretty typical track day, DE day. You're talking about $100,000 to $150,000 just to rent the track and run it for people. And even at $500 to $600, right, you're needing 150 to 200 people or more to show up to break even.
Yeah, almost impossible.
At $500 to $600, and people are like, "Oh, I remember when GridLife used to be $600. I don't know. I don't understand why they're
GridLife
right."
Does
like
still do $600 some events, but like not at the.
It's not a festival.
Yeah. Although I think our Gingerman event, you were on track for effectively 4 days, and it was like $695. So it's still it's still. I mean, it's a lot of time at a racetrack, but and SCCA has the benefit of like typically it's based on a volunteer model, so you're not paying anybody. You get discounted insurance because you're buying it through sanctioned numbers through the national office, who is basically just buying a crazy blanket policy for like 4,000 events, and we're buying basically a mirrored policy with supplementary driver injury insurance, and like it's the best possible policy we can buy to protect the drivers, to make sure that us versus facilities, to protect everything. And like, I mean, we're at a 6-figure check for insurance every year. Like it's out of control. So,
yeah.
but and
And
like Gingerman, the first time we rented it, I think it was like $3,200. And like the last time we rented it is not $3,200 anymore.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
And
is.
we haven't even mentioned things like the live stream and all those things. I know
Yeah,
it's
live
like,
stream is
and
pushing six figures,
yeah,
and
yeah,
trying to build an event that drivers like you can actually like build support around, or just have it be like a very special thing that means something, and build a competition series that like means something, versus just throw an event. Like a one-off event could be very cool, but you're not going to get people like finding the pointy edge of a class that like spins in their brain up and like makes them think, and like it's the reason they go to work in the morning and they come in the garage, and like there's so many little things that need to come together in order to just kind of make what we have gotten to over the last 10 years. Like you try to build rules that work and they make good parity, and also you build a culture that like, okay, these are the drivers that the other drivers want to hang out with generally. Like that's actually hard. And go to facilities that people want to, and make a schedule that's logical, and like every year is just like, oh man, I guess we got through it, and I guess we have to do this again in 5 months. Like the impossible, it feels like an impossible task. And like many times I've gotten to the point where it's like, I don't know if I can keep thinking about it at this level anymore. Like it's getting very difficult. So yeah, we'll keep going. We'll keep trying, but there's a lot more to it than just like hosting a DE weekend. We do host one DE weekend still, which is our West Michigan Honda Meet event, and it's so easy compared to like even like a basic event.
Yeah.
It's like me and John and Juliet and Mike just like, okay, I guess what time's the meeting? It's the schedule that is the same schedule for the last 10 years. I just changed the date, and like it just happens, like it's so much easier than like what we're the big production and crazy show. And I'm not meaning to complain. Like looking back on my life, it's like I never thought any of this would happen. What a wild, cool life. 18-year-old me would think this is the coolest thing in the world. But it is definitely a job, and the margins are very slim, even with like really good help from partners. It's tough. So,
I mean, I guarantee you we have a ton of listeners here that all say, I would give anything to have Adam's life and to be in that realm. But it is something that
somebody
is
gives me $7, they can do it.
It is extremely difficult, and I hope that's really, and I know it is being conveyed and understood. And
but
this
I also
is
don't. I want to
by-
make sure we don't sound like I'm complaining. Like this is it's basically, and of the words, the only words that like seem appropriate to me is like, yeah, this is kind of like it's like the honor of a lifetime to like suddenly be in this position and like have this community around us, and like feel the love from some of these drivers and their crew. It's like every weekend, like my favorite part is like load in day, and I try to go by the gate and I just like say hi to as many of my like it's like a family reunion every weekend. Like I know most of you, and if I don't know, you'll be like, you ask somebody 3 questions and like you're buddies with them. Like all you gotta do is ask somebody 3 questions. You have things in common with all these people. I don't care, if you're wearing a red hat or a blue hat. Like who cares? Like we're all here with the same disease, just a different symptom.
Yep.
Well, that goes, Adam. That goes a little bit back to something you said earlier, which was you always thought that I was like super serious.
Yeah,
but
because you're so intense, you're working on your car, and like you're staring down grid. I'm like, I don't know if Mark's having any fun.
Yeah, well, no, that's fair. But I also like this was something because, and this was something that kind of surprised me is that I never took, I was like, these guys, they don't know who I am. Like I'm just another driver. There's 200 other drivers here. But like I was so surprised when at the beginning of this year, right? So last year was really my first full year to run GridLife. I had done a few other small events here and there when you guys were around the Southeast, a handful over the last, few years. But then last year I was like, all right, I'm going to do a full season. I did 5 events, and then this year as well. But like I remember showing up to this year at Laguna Seca. I'm sorry, at CMP, and like went to like check in. and like, Emma's there, and like I go and have like my, my hard card, and I'm like, hey, I'm, Mark Kilgore. And she's like, oh, hey, Mark. She like knew who I was, right? And I was like walking around the paddock, like, you guys know who a lot of these people are. I always just, I kind of had this, like, I was like, these guys don't really know who I am. And so many times, right, you see me through this, through my helmet.
Yeah. Your intense
even,
eyes, like you're not having any fun.
Yeah. And even like with you, Adam, right? Like I was like, I'm sure Adam has no idea who I am. And then, this year, like, you were like, oh, hey, hey, Mark, what's going on? Right. When I was, over with the Turn and Concept guys. And I was like, he actually knows like my name. Right. So
yeah, I know most of the drivers' names.
Yeah. Yeah. So that again, just goes to this, like, you guys,
it's the only
you
part
guys
that they actually
care.
like anymore is getting another driver.
You guys care. I know that's not a true statement. You guys care.
Might be a true statement sometimes.
Well, yeah, that's fair. Depends on what day it is.
Depends on how much crying you're doing.
Yeah. But I mean, even after Lime Rock, right? Like you came by and you're like, hey man, like how's the car? Everything all right? Like, hope everything's okay. And I was like, oh man, I was
glad it wasn't structural damage. I hate it when somebody's got to go to the frame shop. I'll bolt a body panel in the car, but a frame shop is no fun.
Yeah. So like I very much appreciate that.
Well,
so,
and to that point, like it makes it a lot easier to get to know the drivers. Like, when the drivers like want to get to know us and don't feel like we don't want to get to know them. Like I would love if drivers would come up and just say hello and intro themselves too, but like. A lot of people don't because they're busy. They drive past me and they're at the pit spot and I'm setting up a thing or doing this or stuck in a conversation with somebody else or whatever. But if you have new drivers to any event, like one of ours, anybody else's, talking to the organizer and just saying hello is massively appreciated by the organizers because it really does put a face to the name in the drivers meetings, especially the wheel-to-wheel ones. Because of like the close quarters nature of drivers. And I've been saying it in Time Attack too, but like I really encourage the drivers to talk to the drivers they're around. When you see the grid sheets, that must be that red Supra over there. Maybe I'll go say hi to them because you will drive better around someone if you can like put a face to it and it's not just a bobbly helmet inside of a car that like you don't know the person, you don't even you don't know the build, you don't know their strengths and weaknesses, like where are you comfortable on this turn, like what's your plan on the start, that kind of stuff, especially in wheel to wheel. But like the same thing can go for the start of a Time Attack event. Green flag flies, it kind of looks like a restart in a wheel to wheel race. Like I would love if everybody knew the plan of the driver in front of them on the green flag. Like that would make everybody drive better together. So, but you also like you'll make a new best friend really easily at a racetrack if you go up to somebody and like be like, hey man, cool car. How long have you had it? 3 other questions and you have a buddy for life. Like probably a non-zero percentage. It's probably a double or maybe close to a triple digit percentage. Because it's just like how we're all wired. I haven't met too many racers and drivers, especially on a road course, that like I didn't want to talk to. Like there's only been a couple. There's only been a couple, and like that might be just a personality clash, or maybe they're total psychos. I don't know, but like pretty much everybody's pretty great. So. Yeah.
If you ask any of us or any driver at the grid one question, you're going to be stuck in, especially about their car, you're going to be stuck in a conversation for 10 minutes because they're just going to sit there and talk on and on and on about their car. We love it. Nothing more. We'll tell you everything about the car.
Exactly. Yeah. Go up, ask 3 questions, friend for life, almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
But yeah, go intro yourself to everybody working too. Like it does. Often we feel like, especially at like an event where there's a lot of people I don't know. Like I feel like I just kind of want to hide because like I don't want to get in the way of. I don't want to act like I'm like in charge. Like I don't want people to get that air, that vibe. So I just kind of get busy doing stuff. But even doing drivers meetings, like I struggle with like even remembering to intro myself because like the event shouldn't be like about one person. So we're not like looking to have a power complex at all. Like almost ever. There's probably some organizers that's not the case, but like I'm kind of there because of the people. If it wasn't for the people, like I wouldn't keep going. Like, the people at GridLife, like, we're just here to help. So
I definitely understand and I can agree with that in so many levels because it's I think as we talked about with you and how difficult it is to put on the event and how expensive it is and time consuming, I think every racer out here is also in that same category where they're saying, yeah, it's difficult for us too.
oh yeah,
You
it's
know
like
what I'm
all you
saying?
can
Like,
do to go to an event. I totally get that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's where, you know, some of these people, um, like I love, and this is just me. This is just how I love Time Attack. When I was seeing Ryan and his Miata, when those guys were pulling the engine
Mhm.
and putting in a new engine and then trying to figure out the tune and then working with, I can't remember his name, but the other guy in the other Miata, like it's like Brian or something like that. But they were working with him to get a tune on the car so they could drive it well. It's like I love that whole aspect of it where it's people helping people and people, you know, like you said, interacting and becoming friends for life essentially just because being out there at these events and having a good time.
And
So
it
that's
even like to me it goes across like uh social and like economic strata too. Like, the coolest YouTuber in your mind is having trouble with their car, and they just ask you if you have a tool. And then like this happened at Laguna, and Mike Burrows comes up, and I know one of them thinks that Mike's Ferrari is like the coolest build because it's super unique, and he's having problems, and they get him in the garage, and he does an overnight engine swap, and like even like the live stream team is like helping him pull engines. I pulled his engine out, changed the trans, and then put it all back in. Yeah, had to re-weld some stuff, and like you never know who you're gonna be friends with. You never think I'm gonna be friends with the guy whose car I watched him build for 5 years. But like, they're all the same people. Like,
they're all just people.
we're all struggling to be there. Like, the org is struggling
Yeah.
to be there. I know that you know, everybody spends more on diesel than they spend on entry fees, and then they spend more on tires than they spend on entry fees. Like, this is all very expensive to do well. So, and we totally get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And it's only getting
Well, and
worse. So,
yeah, no,
yeah,
that's true. That's fair. I
unfortunately.
mean, and that's sort of like if you like if you love Jackie, if you love Dewey, if you love, you know, Mike Burrows, if you love any of these guys and you watch them, Andy Smedegard, right? You know, any of these guys, like literally you can share the paddock with them. You just have to show up.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter what car you're in. Just bring, you know, bring your daily driver, bring whatever car you have. You can show up and you can come do this. It's extremely accessible. You know, yeah, we're talking about, you know, a little bit of the cost is rising and things like that, but you know, a single event or two events or things like that, you can get started in and you can share the paddock, and it is amazing. These guys are super nice, very open, and you can talk to them and hang out. And like you said, like I remember last year in Street GT, I was battling with now, oh gosh, now I can't remember his name. I have his, he was in the M2, the black M2, um, YouTuber from California. What's his name?
Oh
I
man,
can
I forget
picture
He
his
him.
name.
doesn't. He doesn't listen to this anyway, so it's not gonna matter.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
But Dustin Williams, gosh,
There
there
you
we
go.
go, Dustin
Right.
Williams, yeah. But like, I mean, it was awesome because like I was able, like I chatted with him a couple of times, right? Because we were battling with each other. We were right next to each other on grid, and it was a lot of fun. And it was literally just because I showed up. Like that's it. That's all I had to do was just show up. Now,
Yep.
I'm not saying that's all I had to do, right? I mean, there's a lot that went into it, but um, like if you're thinking about it, like I'm just encouraging other people and drivers to just show up, and you can hang out with all of these super awesome guys, and I'm not including myself in that group.
What am I? My mic still working? It's
Yeah.
not coming in my one ear. My headphones are trash. I think they're free from an airline. But the one of the cooler stories from our Audubon event was at Atlanta. a dude comes up to me and he intros himself as like the dude I've been talking to on Instagram, and he like follows a lot of the GridLife paddock, and he was just like so stoked to be there. He was spectating, having a good time. Saw him a whole bunch of times throughout the weekend. I talked to him about Accord motors, and then he shows up at Autobahn and he's driving and he's got a fresh build and he's just running around, having a great time. Car, he's got, it should be a Club TR car, but he's got, too many mods inside the engine. So he's just running around Street Mod having fun, and had a great weekend. I think he told me at the end of the weekend, I think he knocked 11 seconds off his time. He had never been there, never driven the car before. Usually runs an old Civic, but he built this Accord because he thought they were cool. And like, I love that stuff. That's so cool. Like I want more, I want more of that story too. Like, it doesn't need to be this like, and I know it's kind of escalated into like a semi-pro vibe, or even like it's probably more pro than the stuff that I grew up watching as pro series. Like, realistically, like Speed World Challenge back in 2002 was like probably not as pro as Touring Cup, like realistically. Those cars were pretty simple overall. They just had more money to throw at them. But I know it's got like more of a pro vibe, but like it's still just a bunch of the same people doing the same things as they ever have, and they're all generally pretty approachable. So
Yeah.
Well, that's something that, like, for me, I love just seeing the diversity of the builds and interesting, cool builds. That's the kind of thing that like drives me towards Time Attack, and so that's where I continually love when you hear those good stories like that, right? Where you hear just some guy who built a car because he liked that car and thought it was cool. And don't get me wrong, on the flip side of that, I love to see the guys that are pushing that edge and just doing like the most amazing things and being the fastest guy out in the field. But just the passion as a whole, just to pick any car and to go after it is just
the thing that like really has impressed me, especially in the past 2 or 3 years too, has been the rapid, insane progression, like, of most of the classes. And it's almost a testament to like human spirit. Like, back when I used to ride BMX, like, oh, you'd think, oh, I can never do a 360, and you can't do it until you can do it, and then it's not a big deal. And I can never do a sub 140 at Gingerman, and like suddenly you can. And like, I remember when Street Mod broke 140s at Gingerman. Like, isn't that adorable? Like, Street Mod is now tapping on the 129s, and like, I remember when Unlimited was like, I think the Unlimited record was a 33, and then it was a 31, and then it was a 27, and a 26, and a 25, and a 23, and a 20. Like, it's insane. Like it and like Dewey on 255s. How does that car go so fast on 255s with a time bomb motor? I have no idea. And it doesn't blow up. Oh, they figured out so much stuff. Like, the progression it's so fun to watch. It's also like, I can see that being a barrier to entry, but dipping yourself into like the really fast pond is going to make you really fast. Like, you don't go fast at like a DE where you are the big fish. You only go as fast as you have to go. Yeah, like drivers only really drive as fast as they have to go. They if suddenly somebody showed up at the Rolex 24 that was running 7 seconds faster than everybody else in the same Porsche or whatever, I guarantee the other drivers are going to find most of that 7 seconds in the next five practice sessions or whatever. They're just gonna, because now they have to, which is super cool to watch. So
yeah. There was a little bit with me that at Laguna this year, right? Like, the first day I was a little behind, but so I was pushing to catch up. But like, once me and Charles were kind of there, and then I ran a 35.2 at the end of Saturday, and Sunday morning, we had a session, but I had like a 8/10 second lead, and it's like, yes, and I know, I get, some people will say, well, as a Time Attack driver, you should just push all the time to get the fastest time you can. But I think this is also where Podium Sprint comes in to, if I didn't have anything else to go for, right, if I didn't have another reason to save the car, I might. But it's like, a 34 would be nice, but why do I really need to push there? Now, granted, if me and Charles were both sitting at low 1 minute 35 seconds, that would have pushed me harder, right, to go there.
You only drive as fast as you have to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think to your point, the pointy end of each of these classes, you have these people pushing each other so much,
Right.
and that is a huge reason for the acceleration of these times. And I'll go back to something else you were saying, which is I hope people realize and understand that, yeah, the top 5, 6, 7 cars probably in most classes are pretty serious for the most part. Definitely the top 3, they're really pushing hard.
Yeah.
Everyone else in the class, as you move down the order, the vast majority of people there are having, good vibes, right? And good times. And they're there just kind of hanging out, getting maybe acquainted with what GridLife is. If they're kind of first time or second time drivers, they're getting their feet under them. They're just starting their GridLife and motorsports journey. So don't think that, from first place down to 10th place or 15th place that everyone is super pro, super really focused on making their cars absolutely as fast as possible. There's a lot of people in the paddock who are there having a good time, like your guy in the Accord who just showed up, fresh build. He's having a great time. He's just worried about himself. He's not really worried about standings. There's a ton of people in the paddock like that.
Except for in Club TR, they're all a bunch of hammers. All they want to do is hit each other.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
What a bunch of hammers.
That's fair. That is why they're track rats.
Yeah.
If you had to throw one of the classes out there as like your favorite class to watch, which is your favorite class to watch right now?
It depends on if it's to watch the car on track or if it's to watch the story behind it. Generally, to watch the story behind Club TR is almost always insane. Because the cars are, it's kind of designed to be, you build your own mousetrap, but also like the cars are pretty attainable, but they're really finding so much out of them. And the pointy end is so close typically. And they're pushing so hard and they're on a control tire. So like that breeds some inherent parity. But that's a fun one to watch, the actual story. To watch on track, like to actually just watch the cars. Unlimited is still absolutely insane. To watch Mike DeSold's car break 200 miles an hour at Road America is terrifying. But yeah, there's so much built-in storyline with Club TR, and it's like become such a popular class because pat myself on the back. Like I was like, well, what's the class that I think is like would catch so many track cars and let them be like the car they already are, or like with a couple of mods, and suddenly they're all on parity. Because like what is that segment? What's missing? And it really was kind of in Time Attack back. There was like no place for like a track rat Civic or like a mild engine swap this or that. You had to go big aero, you had to go crazy turbocharger in like GTA or in our rule set. But like Sunday Cup, Sunday Club, whatever, Club SC, too many names now. There is a reason for that name change. That might be public someday. Nobody's suing anybody, but like, well, you'll know if it comes to
when
fruition,
it happens, we'll know.
If it comes to fruition, you'll know why it got changed from Sunday Cup. But when we added that in Club TR, like, yeah, it brought a different flavor, and it also kind of like grabbed more of like it's like literally just like the general HPDE crowd, which is great. But like, there's still something really cool about like a track mod or unlimited car, like just so cool. Unattainable for most, but like just to see them out there, it feels like when you get a really good battle, especially like in track mod or unlimited, or even street mod is like basically track mod and basically unlimited. Like it's so fun to watch those gnarly cars be well driven. and giant backfires and big wings and big arrow, and there's still something very visceral about that. So they're fun to watch. But
Yeah, anytime that you can get, and like Kilgore mentioned earlier, you get people's imagination going,
Yeah.
and allow them a rule set that they can build upon and build cars to their imagination. I think that's where Time Attack is always going to shine.
for sure.
And don't get me wrong, like I love that you have classes like Club TR, because it's about getting people into the game and go, look, there's an opportunity for you to play here.
And develop as drivers too. Like it's really helped develop a lot of drivers.
Yeah, and
Some higher level drivers have sort of used those two classes and like TC even, because you can't do unlimited Time Attack forever. Like you got to have a retirement home sometimes. Like look at how Houghton just about flipped the apple cart over last year in Club TR just by somebody gave him a car and was like, hey, can you drive this and make it cool so that I can rent it to other people? And like he was out there slinging with some bad MFers in Club TR, and kind of did the same thing in Club SC. Just getting thrown the keys of a car, almost got himself on the podium a few times in a car he'd never driven. But that's probably the class I would, if I was building a Time Attack car right now, I'd probably build a Club TR car. Just because it's like where my self-imposed limit would be. But I love that there's crazy daydreaming even going on. Pre-podcast we're talking about Kilgore's daydreams and for his next build, and like that kind of stuff's like, I guess I got to keep hosting events so I can kind of maybe see that. Like I like that car that we talked about.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's right. Well, one thing I love about Club TR as well is that, like you said, I mean, there's so many good things. I love seeing all the different cars.
Mm-hmm.
Street GT. I know there's actually been some conversations recently about some of the meta cars that kind of always rise to the top because of the more limited rule sets.
Yep.
But being able to allow front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, right, different sort of engine swaps, aero thing with Club TR, that provides a lot of different options for people. And I love that, like, you've got Evan McLaren's Integra, you've got, the Acuity Civic, you've got Peter Gramberg and his FRS or BRZ, whatever it is,
Yep.
right? You got a couple of those different ones, so I love seeing that these different cars. I just don't like seeing all the same cars on track, and Jager and I have said it all the time, right? Like we like seeing different creative outlets for people to create their cars.
And it ebbs and flows too. Like we're starting to see like a resurgence a little bit in like the big crazy stuff, like Trek Mod Unlimited, and like really well prepped cars. But like when we first came out, there was like the Willall Young, Houghton's Integra, the Fessler Mustang, and a few others like in Unlimited. And then they just kind of like all like faded away because they crashed or they ran out of money or they sold them or whatever. But you're starting to see like a resurgence in some of that, and you're seeing those track records be broken now by like Jimmy Rock or Mike DeSold or Ferris, and now Ferris is off doing international things, but like,
which is insane.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the effort behind that is so nuts, dude. Like so crazy. The effort just to run a car like that is out of control. Same thing with like a couple of years ago we saw the Evo that Houghton was driving, the Unit 2 Evo that is now sold to a presidential candidate in Guyana, actually. And they still go down there, and the guy didn't win the presidential election, but they still go down there to service the car. And like Jim's supposed to go down there to drive it once the political tensions drop, and like, but that car at Lime Rock was out of control cool. It was so fast. This nuts Evo. And these cars do exist, and some of them just kind of need to have the dust, like dust it off and like fix a few items. But there's some wild builds out there that are, I hear about rumors of them coming, but some of them are just kind of parked too. There's some really cool builds, and I'm glad more are coming out. But there's like Unlimited comes in these like ebbs and flows, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, believe me, when it comes to unlimited class cars, they take a village.
Yeah.
And if you're stupid enough to do a Subaru, it takes a big village.
Yeah.
But truthfully, like the amount of time, energy, dedication that you have to do
Luck.
those type of cars and luck, like
All of it.
like I'm gonna tell you right now, like you said before, right? Like in my situation, um, there was no way I would have been able to do anything with my Subaru if it wasn't for all the amazing partners I had throughout the years.
Sure.
And so, you rely so heavily on those partners to make, these dreams come true.
Yeah.
And so, we can't thank the companies that stand behind us and back us and help us get to the places we want to go enough. But it's also about the dreamers out there, right? Like
Yeah.
there has to be some moron in the corner going, it'd be really cool. I'm
Well,
going to put this engine in here and I'm going to make this thing make 1 billion horsepower.
And we're trying to we've always kind of had the goal of turning GridLife into really kind of what it has become, but also like be the place that somebody can dream things up and then build a program around it, because it means just enough to enough people that that the 1 billion horsepower build actually comes to fruition because there's a place for it to play. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of always like when we were daydreaming about it, that was one of the goals, is like make it be something that means something and is real and is, it's the reason that all these drivers can get up in the morning, go to the job they probably hate, and then come and work on the garage till 2 a.m. So, yeah.
I mean, it's the truth though. That's one of the things that has always attracted me to Time Attack and has always been interesting to me, is it gives you space. And yes, we do have rule sets to follow, to get in between, da 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 da. But it's like there's always that unlimited class, the super unlimited class that just says, do whatever you want.
Or just the creativity allowed in most classes, in most time trials. Like you kind of pick your tire, pick your arrow, and like often like you can build whatever mousetrap you want. It's not like the old, when I started racing SCCA, I was running in the improved touring class, and like the biggest, and that was like, wheel to wheel class for like old CRXs and stuff like that. And like I remember when they made a rule change that said you could throw away your windshield washer bottle, and that was like a big deal when like the windshield washer bottle could be taken out. And like previously, like the big deal was, yeah, you can take carpet out because carpet's a fire hazard. But like 15 years of this class, carpet, like cage built around the headliner, like got to have a spare tire in it. Like, I don't know, like it's weird how the evolution turned them into real race cars eventually. But like, I don't know, when like, I can't get super into spec racing either, because there's no creativity. Even though there is creativity eventually, it just comes down to like, now the creativity in Spec Miata is like, what head casting did you get? Because you bought 14 of them, and which one's the best one out of the box? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not the creativity I want to play with, but I can see the racing is great. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, so here's a question for you then. One thing that I definitely give a lot of credit to GridLife on is their initiative to make change. And you guys being unequivocally unafraid of saying, we're going to try this. And then whether it works or doesn't work, you're going, well, it worked. Let's go with it. Or it doesn't work. Let's change the hell out of it.
We've had a few clunkers, sure.
and that's going to happen. I mean, I think that's what probably a lot of people can appreciate. And there's probably those in the reign of like, oh man, they make too many changes and there's too many things, and and we have all the people that are like, just keep it classic and yada yada.
Right.
But I definitely think that that's something that I find most interesting about GridLife is the willingness to take, and whether or not you're taking inputs from racers or just coming with it up on your own.
It's kind of,
but
it's definitely both.
imagine,
It's definitely both. A lot of great ideas come from drivers. Yep.
And today, so it's one of those things.
Today I probably had 4 hours of phone calls. Yesterday was probably 5 hours of phone calls, just with individual drivers with ideas, talking about next year, talking about this. Like it's nonstop. like that's a big part of every day is emails and phone calls, and you distill down the ideas, and some of them are great, some of them are really terrible. So
Yeah. I was gonna say, man, those must be some rough phone calls.
often
I hear
often
you.
they're pretty
Oh,
fun.
you are so smart. Oh, joy. Okay, can we get off the phone now?
Luckily, you got earbuds, and I'm usually installing a window or a door or painting something. Or my construction job is so lovely because it's like a physical distraction from like all the mental exhaustion that GridLife has created. Like, but the problem is I get to do them both at the same time. So,
But no, but I think that's something that, I mean, obviously I vastly appreciate you taking the time and listening to racers and hearing their voices. And I appreciate you guys, how you guys take that initiative to make choices, because it's very easy, especially in a business like this. It'd be very easy to be essentially stalled by the fear of failure.
Sure.
And just go, oh man, it's working right now. It's working enough.
Right.
Let's just leave it alone. And it'd be really, really easy to do that. And so it's very interesting to me that you guys, and applauding you guys in the sense that you guys make those changes and try those things out. Because like, I'm gonna tell you, like, the thought when you guys first came up with like podium sprint, my brain went to, oh Jesus,
Yeah.
this is a terrible idea.
I heard a mixed review on that. Podium sprint was not actually my idea at all. I never liked it in concept. I didn't hate it, but like I still kind of have this like, time attack should probably just be fastest of the weekend if we're just gonna do what everybody else has done. But it's impossible to watch realistically. It's
very hard to follow.
It's impossible.
Terrible.
It's impossible to have anybody stick around to the end, so the podium is lame. Spectators like don't know what they're gonna get because often it looks like a DE session. So Kyle actually brainstormed the most on that one, and he was like, "Well, if we qualify into a thing and we do it." So we kind of came up with that concept of like we should end the weekend on the high note, and reliability should be a factor in winning an event also. And I kind of agree with that. But I do like that we dabble with regular old traditional time attack as well sometimes. So, yeah, I have a nostalgia for like the 2016, 2017 era when we were hosting like 4 or 5 events. And like I do have a nostalgia for that. And it does kind of like make me feel warm and fuzzy inside to do traditional time attack. I don't really know why, but the only time attack I've personally participated in has been just like fastest of the weekend time attack with us. But yeah, podium sprint's got to be pretty fun though. So maybe one day I'll try to get into podium sprint.
Every driver that I talked to said they absolutely love the concept of podium sprint. And I think here's the key factor. They love the pressure aspect to it. And so, and I'm not trying to be one of those guys calling you on your phone and giving you an idea, but I'm just saying, I think it's the pressure factor that gets to them, and they love the hot seat. They love having to put down a lap in that time. And so I'm just going to say, I love the concept of going back in time and taking, instead of it being a time over any session, over out the entire weekend, you knock that down to like 2 sessions, and those are the only ones that count. Just throwing it out there. Those are kind of my thoughts and prayers.
We sort of did the first year of podium sprint had dedicated qualifying and dedicated practice sessions. That was 3 years ago. And we had, the way we were releasing cars was different. And there's reasons that we changed some of that for like, so everybody had the same racetrack, because if somebody oils the track down, you can't really have a fair competition. So the class kind of needs to run by itself. But we used to run them like one car would go out, start its flyer, 30 seconds later the next car goes out, start its warm up. And it was, for me, it was actually fun to manage it, because like the second to second of release, and like you're watching all the cars operate at the same time, and like if you see a problem, you have to stall a release or like pre-release, or like that part was really fun. But we did come across the problem of like, what if the rain comes in the middle of Club TR, and that's how now someone's going to lose and somebody's going to win because the track actually changed. So some of that was like in the spirit of like the actual competition, not the display and the show of it. Like you have to make these changes and concessions. But yeah, there was I think there was 2 qual, and then you got into podium sprint. It was like 4 practice, 2 qual, got into podium sprint, and there was a concession at the end of it called last dash, which we still do sometimes. But yeah. Any ideas you got? Adam at GridLife.
Well,
all your listeners.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's that email?
Adam,
Abe at gridlife.com.
yeah. If you want them to get forwarded to me, maybe. So, Motorsport at GridLife also goes to me and John and Emma, or Adam at GridLife is mine. So
nice. I will piggyback off of what Jager was saying. Not that it really matters, but since we do have you on here and we're gonna give you our thoughts anyway, I did like the I actually think we run too many sessions.
You are not the only one, but you're also the minority.
And I understand that, and I get, but I think there's a lot of people who they're going to say, well, we're paying this much money and we're only getting
seat time still means
and I'm
something
like, well,
to a lot of people. One time Jackie Ding comes up to me at Midwest and he's like, Adam, I just looked at the schedule. We have 13 sessions. That's way too many sessions, or 11 sessions or whatever. And I'm, okay, you don't have to use them all, Jackie, if you don't want to.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. But because I mean, honestly, like this year when we've gone like to the 3rd day, and I'm like waking up, getting the car prepped, and I'm like, God, are we still here? Like, are we still doing this?
4th day at Midwest.
Like it. Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Like I'm like, okay, this is a lot.
The funny thing about the 4-day at Midwest, because there's a Thursday load-in / test night, basically. Right. And the funny thing is, a bunch of drivers like Luke McGrew, he's mid 40s, late 40s, so he's not old, but like he's like, I'm an old man. This is too many days for me. And then on Sunday, after podium sprint, he's like, man, I thought that was going to be a long week. Sure felt like it flew by.
So, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. But I did like the prior setup of a couple of practice sessions and then less qualifiers. I think that it could help alleviate some issues with people complaining about the grid order, because in practice, it's practice, right? It's not a qualifier. It doesn't really count. You could maybe try some things.
Sure.
You could get your car set up a little bit. It also reduced the number of qualifiers, so that increased the pressure a little bit to perform in the qualifiers. From a driver's perspective, I would consider moving the podium sprint to Saturday afternoon.
The last year, I really liked, and I loved having everything done by Saturday night. I loved it.
That's fair. The other reason that I like it so much is because Saturday afternoon is usually when we've got the biggest spectator crowd actually on site.
Yep, for sure.
And actually running in front of those, like running the big event in front of those spectators and fans and kind of allowing them to see the podium sprint, I think would be beneficial for them. And I would enjoy it. Like, I think it would be, hype me up even more, because when you get done and you get to go around and you get to see all the fans, around the track, and you can kind of wave to them and do whatever. It just, it's a little more exposure because usually Sunday it's oftentimes not quite as big of a crowd.
There's a non-zero chance that we change back to sort of what happened last year, where it was Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday is something else, or maybe we just like literally rent it to a DE org or become a DE org again.
Sure.
But Yeah, a lot to consider. Like this year was,
Sure.
there was a bunch of reasons that we made this change, but I don't know if we love all of it. So, and also you're streaming for 3 days instead of 2, and there's a lot to consider on like the track rental agreement side. And oh, my right ear just came back for a second. Cheap United Airlines headphones. Lot
Should've got those
of just
Deltas.
like so. Oh man, it's so weird to hear myself again. There's a lot of just interesting little things that like all of these things have to be addressed, and that's how you make your decision. And sometimes it pans out the way you want, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm not positive if I think I preferred last year's comp. I loved doing the podium on Saturday night. I just loved it. And we do it at Lime Rock because you can't race on Sunday, but I loved doing the podium on Saturday night. So I think there's a pretty decent chance that like maybe some of that gets shrunk and Sunday changes, but also you have like there goes my radio again. You have crowds that like at Road America, they kind of want to watch racing on Sunday, but it turns out maybe they want to watch it more on Saturday anyway. So yeah.
Is there any other, just to pick your brain, is there any other big changes that you see coming to GridLife next year that you can sneak peek to the crowd?
Not particularly big. Like in the rules changes stuff, a lot of it is like minutia and operational. Like I feel pretty good about a lot of it. There is some talk of like in the future maybe combining a couple of classes in time attack into one class. I'll let your brains spin on what that might be. There's been a rumor going around that like GLGT is just going to be enduros, like SRO sprint racing, and like, no, it's probably not going to be that. Don't worry. I really like the super sprint format, but there's also teams that have approached us that want to do, they base their model on renting seats out, and it's hard to rent one seat and bring the whole rig. When you can rent 2 or 3, it's easier. So maybe there will be like a Sunday enduro or like an evening enduro at some of these things, and maybe that is a participation thing for GLTC, and maybe bring back our super grid rule set that brings in maybe some B-spec style stuff too. Even TBD on some of that. That's like a more of just like a something we're talking about, but largely like make the events more what the drivers want, more what the spectators want. It's kind of always the goal. And when you try a few things, you definitely get feedback one way or the other. We did get a lot of positive feedback, and we got obviously a lot of negative feedback about the Friday Saturday versus Friday Saturday Sunday. So TBD and a bunch of that stuff, but our main goal is to build the event series that like the drivers want. And the driver survey that went out earlier this year was a huge thing for us to start planning next year. And we'll probably have another one of those that really, the more questions we can get answered by the bigger amount of people, and like actually know like, okay, does everybody actually hate Autobahn, or does everybody love Autobahn? Do people hate the 3-day or 2-day or vice versa? Or like, what's the biggest complaint? What's the best thing we're doing? Like, it's good to know people's opinion on a lot of that stuff. So driver surveys are probably going to keep being a thing, that's been helpful info. So, but also
I love the idea of driver surveys as a whole. So
it works out, and it worked out really well. It's a lot of info to digest, but also like if you got something, just like also just shoot us an email. Motorsport@grid.life gets me and John and Emma. So that always helps too. So communication solves a lot of problems in basically every aspect of life. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed that. So
I mean, that was actually a discussion I had with a few people in regards to some things that occurred at Laguna, right?
Yeah.
And I asked some questions of like, so did you guys tell GridLife about any of this? Well, no. Well, then how does GridLife solve this problem for you?
Yeah, it's pretty tough to solve a problem you don't know exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys looking to keep the same series for next year in terms of track battle, GLTC, GLGT,
Yeah,
rush, and drift?
that stuff probably won't change a whole lot. There's like a huge growing amount of interest in GT, which I think is exciting.
Sure.
And I think it'll probably pull some of the parity in GLTC is really good, but it's really difficult to balance like a 200 I think the highest horsepower vet you can build, or V8, anything you can build, is like 270 horsepower versus like 190 horsepower car. And so some of it will probably maybe bring in a max horsepower, maybe shrink the max tire in TC, and that will probably help fix some of that parity and still allow like heavily detuned to this or whatever. Like in 2021, Swenson basically ran on 275s and 230 wheel, and that parity was a lot easier to balance than like 270 wheel. So, yeah, there's a lot of thoughts in some of that stuff, and I think GT is getting a ton of interest, especially when some of the heavy hitters in TC have crossed over into it a little bit or dabbled with it. So, and people see some of the freedom in the rule set that maybe it's the new thing they want to play with. So I think that's going to be a cool class next year. Track battle, I don't see giant changes. A lot of tiny tweaks, and some TBD for like 2027 about maybe even some consolidation of classes, because we see like really similar lap times across Class A and Class B, but like there's a lot.
I know what you're talking about.
There's a lot of thoughts that like I'm early stages on it, and like I have to be convinced that I need to put a bunch of brain power in it. Some of these ideas aren't mine. They're like, Ito and Abe and, but if we put our heads together, hopefully we can, and talk to enough drivers, hopefully we can build a class that maybe is a little bit more aspirational for some people too. So, some of these classes have literally been around in there, since day one with us, and like some of them are pretty similar to GTA classes, because JD was like, yeah, just take our rule set and like do what you want with it, like let's try to build this some sort of matching classes back in like 2013. So some of these classes like might actually be pushing 18 years old, or whatever. So
no, that's fair. I've talked with a little bit with Ito, and was part of a chat yesterday, which I'm sure you probably heard about, in terms of discussing some of these things with combining some classes. And
there's some ideas floating around. We'll see.
There's some ideas, I think the only thing that, and I know that you guys think about this, you guys have to think about everybody. As drivers, we always tend to think very myopically about ourselves, but you guys have to think about, well, not every car is built the same way. Not every driver is capable of driving their car the same way. And we shouldn't be making decisions based off of just one or two drivers. Instead, looking, how is this going to affect multiple drivers across the class? And are we going to pull people into other classes that really, what's the point for them? Yeah, it may work for a small subset, but how is this going to look at a large scale?
Yeah, when
and I know you guys look at those things, which I appreciate.
And there's also like the when we started out, it was like a whole bunch of like clapped out cars that are now 30 years old, that were, they were 10 years old at the time or 20 years old at the time, and like the changing, like just like the changes in like the offerings from manufacturers and tires and suspension technology, and like you can't just kind of like, you do have to evolve with the, like Time Attack really should, like the classing really, in my opinion, like it could be wrong, but like I do get to have an opinion with what I think Time Attack should be. But I think it really needs to, the classing rules need to be aspirational for the biggest amount of cars that you want to draw. And if you're pigeonholing yourself, and you're also like, I think you're doing a disservice to the sport, just making, the only way you can run that car is if you run unlimited. Well, that's not good for the sport either, like, but you can't have 47 classes either. That kind of diminishes the goal. So,
So. And this is something that I think, and again, and I really, when I found this out, and it's come across because we've had JD on, we've had John Hunter on, we're having you on. I know you guys are all friends. You guys all talk quite regularly. And so I know you guys talk about, what are you seeing? We're seeing this. How is that affecting you? Here's what, here's how it's affecting us.
Yeah.
And so from that standpoint, that's one thing that, I appreciate, of what you just said, of how SCCA sort of looks at, they look at, well, what are the popular cars
Right.
that people are bringing, right?
And they've got a totally different like end goal too, which I think is good in completely different, completely other ways, because like they're trying to bring autocrossers onto racetracks because it's getting harder to have autocrosses too. So they, by nature, they have to kind of have more classes and be more accessible. But like we're kind of like the polar opposite, but also with the same problem and the same way to fix it. Like I've talked with John at length about some of this, and like when SCCA was starting to do their Time Trials National Tour, when they were talking about rule sets, before John was even part of that, I think he was doing autocross stuff with them at the time, with Hayward and John Krolowitz and Andy Hollis, who were kind of the architects of the original rules. And like we after like a 3-hour conversation, we kind of swirled around that, like we're like square peg and round hole, SCCA and GridLife, but also like we're part of the same like contraption that's being built. So like we're solving things from different angles, and we do have some crossover. We wanted more. We do have some crossover, but like this is all just like we're creating different roads in a subdivision, and we live on different streets, but like we all go to the same block party, So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's why it works for them, because, they can be like, why are we going to make a rule set for a car that apparently nobody really wants to enjoy on track, or or there's issues with them? Nobody's bringing a, insert car X.
A BMW i.
So yeah, exactly. Right. Like nobody's bringing that. So why? Yeah. So, I was like talking to John Hunter. I was like, where does a hybrid car fit in with your max rules? And he was kind of looking at it, and he was like, yeah, I'm not sure that we actually have considered that. And he was like, is somebody thinking about that? I was like, maybe, but
somebody sleep with my wife.
But depends on if someone buys the M4 and for how much. But again, each of these organizations sort of has their own environment, their own ecosystem, and you build for what's going to work in that environment. And I think this kind of goes, and I'd love to get your feedback, and maybe you're like, we're having discussions, or you don't really know, or maybe you do have an opinion, but we were discussing recently, what role does an entry-level time attack class play in GridLife these days?
What do you mean?
And do you, well, in terms of a cheap, accessible class that is not a ton of modifications, that doesn't, it's a somewhat low barrier to entry, as compared to, and as we always say, and this is generally true of any time attack organization, it's fairly cheap to get involved, but it is very expensive to win. But with that sort of in this mindset of, are there gaps, or are there certain classes in terms of GridLife that we don't think are really that entry level, so to speak, anymore? I think of with GTA, you have the enthusiast level class. With SCCA, you have the sport level class. Very minimal modifications. For GridLife, even a street class is highly modified. Club TR, quite highly modified. Street GT, probably the most limited, but you're dealing with fairly high cost cars to initially get involved. So it's like, is there an opportunity for an entry level class? And even if there is, I mean, is that something GridLife is interested
realistically in? Like Club SC is pretty entry level. Club TR is entry level if you can wrench. And I don't know. I haven't thought actually about like what would be a more basic class, sort of like enthusiast and some of the more entry level stuff at time trial stuff. haven't really thought about it a whole lot. We've had the luxury of having enough drivers want in all the time that like we're so busy just making it happen that I haven't in the last couple of years haven't actually thought a whole lot about like, all right, what's next? So my brain power has jumped around from wheel to wheel, the time attack over the last 10 years, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But I feel like if I was going to be entry level at GridLife, for me, it's either what would I build? Like a outside looking in, I'm pretty drawn to those three classes, is like Street GT and Club TR and Club SC. And yeah, I don't know what other hole we want to fill. That's an interesting way to think about it. So.
Well,
I should probably go drive
a conversation
like an
we were having
and stare at the cars for a while.
There you go. It was a conversation we were having, and I was sort of the opinion. I don't really think there's a need there.
I don't know if there is a need right now, but if there's a big hole that we're missing, I would like to think about it. So
sure, yeah.
I don't know what I'd want to buy that's more expensive than a Club SC car, but less expensive than a Club TR car or like a Street GT car. I don't know what I'd want to buy there. Street is kind of like that. Street might need to change in order to fill that gap that you're talking about, like the stock Civic Type R's and like the Hyundai Elantra N and stuff like that. That like they're almost right there, but maybe not. You know, that's sort of what you're talking about is actually the thing that we're maybe trying to solve in like late 26, early 27, with like maybe some rules changes to consolidate this and open up that, but like very early days. So yeah.
I think you also run into, and I think this is a little more evident in Street. You don't really see it in Street GT as much, but it's kind of hard when you're talking about a new Civic or the new Civics or a Cayman, right? Versus the Evos and the Subarus who have 20 years of aftermarket development. And, you know, and these newer cars that are still trying to, you know, like, and the new Civics, do you even have, you know, like, you don't really have a whole lot of control over the ECUs yet, right? Like, you know, they're still trying to figure out. That's a problem with a lot of modern,
brand new stuff too, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like it takes a while. It you know, and I think that's one reason that
sometimes it never
comes. Haven't really seen. Yeah, exactly. We haven't really seen a G series in Street GT yet, but it's just because there's not a whole lot of support yet, and nobody's taken that platform. And you know, it could be really good. We just don't know because no one's done that yet. So it's like it's hard to balance these 20-year-old cars with these new cars, and I think that's evident.
Yeah, it's like every 2 or 3 years too. You get like a whole new generation of like really cool things, but like they're different every time, and like that aftermarket bleeds in so slow or so fast, like it's so different. We saw how long it took Jackie just to like make his car not like do dumb stuff when he changed the suspension on a Supra. You know, when he told me he was getting a Supra, the first one, which he crashed into a wall 5 feet in front of me at the speed ring. But when he told me he was getting it, I was like, that's pretty unproven, isn't it? And he was like, I think it's going to be amazing. And I thought, man, this kid's crazy. And like, but look how far that's came now, you know, like in 5 years, like it's insane. Like it's okay. Now that might be the best out of the box car to go really fast with like, there's like 5 formulas and he sells you all the parts for all of them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Have you seen Luca's car, which I didn't really notice it until people were talking about it later, but Luca Barberis and on his Supra, he's got the easy button on the back of his Supra, that it's like, you know, like this is the easy button to go fast, like just
so fast,
just buy the parts
so fast.
Yeah. It's hilarious. I love seeing
that. But the amount of like little things, especially with a new car, like the tuning or like the traction or airbags or what, like that stuff can take you. It could take you 2 or 3 seasons to figure it out, and by then You're out of money, you're out of motivation, and it's time to take up golf. For a lot of people.
Wasn't one of the BMWs doing something weird where like you
the G series, the windows start rolling up if you get hard on the brakes. Yeah, because they think you're in a crash, so they start rolling the windows up.
The amount of airbags that we've blown in turn 14 at Road America is gotta be in like the 14 or 15. Most of them Camaros.
Jeez.
Like you hit the rumbles on the outside of turn 14 in a Camaro, and like all your airbags explode. It's happened probably at least like 8 times. Well,
yeah, dude, that's so freaking wild.
Yeah, new cars can be difficult. So.
Yeah.
But again, I go back to, which again, I don't envy the decisions that you guys have to make in terms of balancing 20-year-old cars that are well proven and have all sorts of different engine builders and all these kind of things that are well known and worked out versus guys who are complaining that their new 2022 or 2023 car can't be competitive. And it's like, dude, like you've got one turbo possibility and like you've got 2 air intakes, like, versus, everything else in the aftermarket.
I'll have you know my Civic is 35 years old, sir.
That is older than some of the guests we've had on
you're
this
balancing
podcast.
a lot of things. A 1990 Honda Civic to a 2020 Supra those are different things. So
and as Kilgore said, it's so difficult to build rules for every single one of those cars and to make every single one of those cars be competitive. It's an impossible task that you and many others are putting together to try to make Time Attack a great time for everybody.
Well, I'm also like pretty stoked at the enthusiasm of the drivers, especially the last 4 or 5 years. That like, it did feel like after 2019, like we launched Touring Cup, and there was a whole bunch of like buzz around that for a little while. Still plenty of buzz, but I feel like there's such a renewed like emphasis on like the stoke of Time Attack drivers too. And we're getting a lot of drivers, they do 2 or 3 years of HPDE and all they want to do is like Time Attack. That's what they want to do. And that's like the end all be all for them. And I think that's great. Like, I don't want to be a feeder system to wheel. Like if you want to do Time Attack, I think I'm going to do Time Attack at Pit. And I've done a lot of wheel to wheel in my life. And I think I'm just going to do Time Attack at Pit because I haven't done it in a while. Like, I kind of am stoked about Time Attack. So, our personal, like, our energy shifts back and forth, like, what do we got to think about right now? Like, fixing this rule, fixing that rule, like, where's the problems? The wheel to wheel series are both in a pretty good spot, and Rush is obviously spec. So I don't get to make many rules with that, thankfully. Hopefully I'm not the Rush race director next year. That is not my favorite way to spend a year, but got to meet a lot of really cool people, but like, man, being a race director is thankless. I can't believe we've had Renee for 7 years in TC. I've been pretty stoked on Time Attack the last year. And I think the format changes and stuff, we've found some things that we like, found some things we didn't. And the goal is still best weekend ever for the drivers, for the spectators. And we've learned a lot of things and we've tracked all of them realistically. So we kind of know what definitely doesn't work and what does work and what works for the most amount of people. But the Time Attack's put on a lot of really good shows this year in Podium Sprint, and even just for me from the tower or the grid, like I've enjoyed it a lot this year overall, versus like in years past, it was just oil cleanups and like crash into walls. They still do some of that, but like the drivers have gotten really good. They're getting very fast. The cars are getting really well built. And I think we're in kind of like a golden era of Time Attack right now. For us, it's been a good couple years for it, and I would love to see that keep going. So, and start to think about like what's next for that over the next couple of years as well. So I just said a lot of words and I don't remember what I said. I'm getting kind of tired, but I'm stoked on Time Attack and I want to make it awesome. is the goal. So,
well, let me follow up. I think I'm super excited that one, you kind of said, especially Renee is race director with TC.
Mm-hmm.
I was really excited to see that you guys sort of implement Edo into a somewhat similar position for Time Attack. I thought that was something that I think was sort of missing a little bit over the last few years, especially the direction that Time Attack has gone. As you've said, people are really getting pretty serious about it. The builds are getting serious. There sort of needed to be a little more centralized governance of everybody, and someone that
like
could
a main
go
point
to
of contact.
and
It used to be Abe
exactly.
and Abe got pulled really heavily into like basically technical director, that's the job he's most comfortable with, is like, being the one to follow up on comp sheets for wheel to wheel and like dive through rule books with questions about Time Attack and track things and data and like make sure we know how many times the car number XYZ went off in the last 12 months, so we can. But that's the thing we're doing also, is we're like trying to watch the problem drivers, because like every corner comm gets a note now, like literally if it's something to think about, it's in the incident log. And so Edo, myself, Renee, John, we can go back and like trace problems and cross search over a season and like, okay, well, this driver actually seems to have a really bad habit of sending it too hard the first lap of Saturday or whatever. So hopefully we can solve some of the problems before they happen, coach up drivers to be better. But Edo's probably been a big part of the reason that I've been more stoked about Time Attack, is his enthusiasm on it. Like we needed the help. We needed that position, like the job that he's doing right now. And we've had to like grow into that position, us, him, everybody. But that was definitely more needed than I thought it was. But John saw that job as being very important, because he was actually doing some of that last year. And now John kind of is global across motorsports, and I get to be more niche again, because he's now the motorsports director. So, which is great. So I demoted myself from motorsports director to motorsports president / I don't know, rush race director this year. So. But
nice. Well, it's been good seeing Edo really put some brain power into, how do we enforce these rules? What are processes that we really kind of need to get in place to make sure that, everybody's staying in compliance when you're not when you don't have guys really, other than the Club SC guys, getting on the dyno and stuff like that. But, how do you think about boost controls and, you can do some measurements with, for aero, right, with a tape measure and some other things. But what are some of the harder things to really watch and figure out in terms of competition and competitors? So it's just great to see, and I hope you guys continue that trajectory, because I think a lot of people, even though you would normally not think of it, I think a lot of the competitors were like, yes, we want more scrutiny over us and the competitors, right? Normally you would kind of think, oh yeah, just let me do whatever I want. But I think a lot of people were like, no, let's
early days. It's probably 2016, 17. It was pretty serious. Time Attack was serious, but like I had no dollars, and it was like me and Abe, and my brother was the chief. It was the timing guy, and like my sister-in-law, his wife was like helping him. My college roommate was helping in grid. I like not paying anybody besides like travel and compensation, because we're just trying to get this thing off the ground. And even starting this like caused debt. The first couple GridLifes like didn't make any money, so we're running on nothing. And I remember Dewey coming up to me and be like, "Who's the scrutineer?" And I was like, "What do you got?" So, it's been an evolving process for sure. But all those desires, like from competitors, like I want this to be the fairest competition. I want everybody to be on this and that. Like that all takes manpower too, and those are the people that you have to fly them in. You have to give them a place to sleep, and you have to feed them food, and then you got to pay them. And ends up being like every person ends up being like a $1,800 project to get to an event. So
Well, and there's still so much that can be done by competitors and should be done
for
by
sure,
competitors. Yes, we should absolutely police ourselves. We know the rule book just as good as anyone
Or you should
else
at
for
least.
our
You should at
class. Well, you should.
we
You
have had
should.
we have had the drivers that have like halfway through Saturday they get like pulled in, and they're like, oh, but I went through tech, and I'm like, well, tech is for safety. Tech isn't to tell you if you have a legal car. Well, it should be. Well, it's not. It never has been. It's your responsibility to bring a legal car. And if you have a part that's a gray area, we encourage you to ask us before the event, not during the event, in the rule set. But we've had a few drivers that are just like expecting, safety tech to be tech. I don't know where that mindset comes from. But
I think I'm gonna step in right there. I think that's something that intrinsically has gone and been in time attack, like as long as I can remember.
GTA has done it most of the time, I think.
Yeah.
But nobody else has with us, or by us. NASA, SCCA, et cetera. It's still the driver's burden. We've always done it in an impound scenario, and I think you still need to do impound.
I agree,
because the drivers know how to work on their cars mid-event too, and change everything and put new suspension on it, illegal tires and all that.
And things that I've seen in past with like GTA and with Redline back in the day.
Did Redline do it that way too?
Yeah. And so they go through there, and then that's when you would get your classing, and they would determine, and yada yada yada. And so I think that's where a lot of that expectation really came from at least people from the West Coast aspect. Maybe.
Yeah, it was like a couple of, it wasn't fresh people into the sport. It was people that had definitely been around the block a little bit, that were like appalled that we had called them into impound. I'm like, I don't know, this is just how we do it, man. So.
Well, and I appreciate the impound aspect to it because, like you said, it's easy to roll through tech and be legal.
Mm-hmm.
And then, especially because in time attack, there's been incidences where people throw on tires and go out and run a lap and, take them off as soon as they get back off. And,
right.
They're pitted in way. So it's like, this is where that would come in, where if you guys pulled them into the impound right there, boom, tires. What's going on?
Right.
These are illegal for your class.
Yeah, I think impound is always important, and if you don't do it, well, you should. But I would love to spot check cars in tech, and I know our guys have done some of that, but also that would really stretch out tech, because then you have to tech every car, every event, and most of our drivers, like Kilgore, probably enjoys an annual tech a little bit. Like, it's kind of nice to pull up and like, oh, they trust my safety tech. I know a lot of our drivers do appreciate annual tech, and yeah, so it's kind of 6 in 1. They both serve a purpose. But I don't want to tech 120 time attack cars every single event. That sounds like hell. So
question for you.
If people think tech takes long now, like,
oh yeah,
just wait until they've got to measure every splitter and every wing and every right. Like, come on. That's just not feasible. It's just not feasible.
Also, like, there is like this culture of that I would like to keep breeding of like the drivers really need to trust the other drivers that they aren't cheaters versus the other way around. I know the inherent like, he beat me, he must be cheating is a thing with drivers, but. We've also seen a lot of drivers not have that because they respect the people they're driving with. So that's something I would like drivers to like trust before they don't, versus like not trust and then basically never trust anybody ever. Like, it seems more fun to be like, oh, I think I'm on level playing field. I'll let the series pull whoever they feel is okay to be pulled into impound versus like, they beat me and I'm cheating and they haven't caught that, so they must be cheating also. Like, I don't know. I'd rather build more of like the place people want to be versus like this yelling, pointing, and hate each other vibe. So no good way to possibly get that to the finish line, but that's kind of a goal at least. So.
You definitely don't live in California.
No. Did you notice? I didn't say it. You said it.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Well, man.
What do we do? 2 hours
We've been
already?
going a little while.
I know. We could just keep going on and on, but we'll have to save our viewers and our
Good
listeners
grief.
at some point.
Well,
Dude, Adam,
yeah.
really, really appreciate you having me on,
we
man.
barely talked about. We didn't yell about rules at all, man.
Didn't even. Well, I'm going to stop right there. So I want you to do us a huge favor. Give us some details on pit race coming up. Your guys' last event of the year. Give us some details.
The
on
last
it.
pit race ever too. It is a spectator event. We've got drift on the skid pad, a few drift sessions on the big track, big skid pad too. And it's a cool camping place. They got nice bathrooms, beautiful track. Kind of sad to see it go. We were like getting kind of excited to like keep building that event after we had hosted a small event there a couple of years ago, and then we like did the championships last year. Ended up being a great event, and we're doing the stream at it this year. So needs the spectators to come out and help us pay for a live stream, but totally great place to spend a weekend. Beautiful, beautiful facility, maybe the nicest in the country, and who knows? The rumor is it's going to turn into a data center. So come enjoy it one more time. So.
Man,
one of the more fun tracks to drive too. And we are also, I think we're putting them up for sale. We're going to do 2 sessions of HPD at the end of the day on Sunday. So for like $100, you can come drive it a couple of times, and like basically like a track night in America Sunday afternoon. So if you got any listeners that are dying to drive, there should be 2 low cost, easy access HPDE run groups for like intermediate and advanced drivers on Sunday afternoon. Come out, drive a few more times, and hang out. So,
Hell
nice.
Yeah,
we've been talking about podium sprint. I assume that Pitt is going to be traditional time attack this weekend or next
no,
event?
I think Kyle would kill me if the championship was not podium sprint. So.
Okay,
I think we're doing podium sprint. It streams well, and he wants to send it off. With the podium sprint.
As you should. You absolutely should. If there's ever a question of traditional or podium sprint, the answer is podium sprint.
It does stream a whole lot better, that's for sure. Yeah. Especially when we're seeing numbers on the live stream, and you like the numbers jump up during podium sprint now, which is great. So people are tuning in.
That's
like
awesome.
1,000 people
awesome.
in that moment are tuning in to see how you're going to do in podium sprint, which is very cool. So
absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you, boys.
Well, Adam, damn, had
Absolutely.
a good time hanging out, had a good time chatting with you. I think obvious reasons we'll have to have you back on the show to talk about next season as you go into 2026.
Working on it.
We'll fingers. Hey man, we're eagerly anticipating what's going to happen. We'll definitely be interested to see what you guys have in store for us. And anytime we can get out to one of the events, Kilgore, obviously he has a lot more ability, so he's getting out to a lot of the events. I was out at Laguna the other week.
I think we broke Kilgore. He seems like a lifer now with his new crazy ideas and stuff too. But
so
I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
It's so
I will say, yeah. Go ahead.
All right. I was saying we're all about sport and time attack, getting people out there. Kilgore's out there killing it and having a good time. Got his first place. Got his first. He gets to round out his trophy, so he's got first, second, and third now.
That was a fun one to announce. He seemed he was the happiest I've ever seen him at a racetrack.
Yeah,
Mr. Intensity over here. So.
Yeah. Yes, but
that's
man,
all paid off.
We love what you're doing for Time Attack, and absolutely appreciate everything that you do for the sport. So we cannot thank you enough for everything that you do. And if I must say, if there's one thing I have a request for is just find a way to eventually, not in the near future, but hopefully in the near future, find a way to get to Southern California and bring back more Time Attack to Southern California. But I know it's hard,
especially with all these people buying up racetracks and making them pretty and doubling the price. Good grief, guys.
Triple the price. Triple.
Yeah, I hear it's going to be expensive. The last time we did Time Attack in Southern California, I had to literally strip the timing loop with my teeth, kneeling on the ground and tape it to the paddock because it didn't work. And now that place looks like Spa. So... yeah,
maybe that's why they had to triple the price.
I hope they took the timing loop out of metal conduit. That was a big part of the problem, I think. So timing should be plastic conduit, guys. But anyway, appreciate you guys. And grid.life or GridLife official on socials, or any of the Track Battle or TC Facebook pages, you just search up a class. There's usually a Facebook page for it too. So,
what weekend is Pitt?
Not this weekend,
what are
but
the
next
dates?
weekend. So like 10 days from now, that's like October,
Okay.
16, 17, 18, I believe. So
Yeah. So it'll be so when this episode comes out, it'll be the next upcoming weekend. So if you're when you're listening to this, the live stream will be just a few days after this comes out. So
Cool.
be sure, tune in.
And if you're in,
check out Pit
if you're in
Race.
proximity, drive over. It's a cool place.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. As we've been talking about, I mean, the GridLife is a fantastic event in terms of time attack, and I will say this: GridLife right now and in the foreseeable future, GridLife is the absolute pinnacle of time attack racing in the U.S. You've got the best drivers, you've got some of the best builds, and if you want to see the best time attack racing in the U.S., it is at GridLife, and I will make that argument to anybody. And you got to go see it if you want to see it in real life, you absolutely need to go.
We'd love to have you. And it's not like for us, it's never been like an organization versus organization fight. We're always trying to make it. We even bought the North American Time Attack website and said to JD and SCCA, like, hey, let's all be friends so that we don't just like divide the pot up. We would love to build a bigger field for all of us. Like, let's unite just a little bit. Let's cut out this Facebook us versus them. But we are kind of lucky that we currently have a lot of really fast drivers and cool builds, and it's fun to host. So.
Yeah, you guys have struck a really good balance of competitive classes, but keeping it a fairly small number of classes that helps build out the number of people who are competing, and as well as just creating an atmosphere that people want to come and attend.
That's the goal.
So there absolutely is something to that. With that being said, I mean, we've seen multiple people. You look at Jackie, you look at myself, you look at Kyle, some other drivers, you look at Mike Dussault. They run with all three organizations, so it's clear that there's not any sort of real adversity, for the most part.
I love. There was a lot of it in 15 and 16. Mark probably remembers some of that, and I'm glad that that's mostly gone. Which I don't think that was good for anybody. But us versus them never really. I never see a whole lot of win if that's your mindset. Like, I don't know. There's more fun ways to live your life. So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. So Pit Race coming up, that's going to be the last event of the year. And then we're going to have, we'll go into the off season, which will be fun. Jager and I will be, the silly season. Jager and I will be breaking down, all sorts of rules changes, what's going on. We'll be, talking about the
telling me everything I'm calendars. Doing wrong. Now I get to blame John. Now it's not my fault. Just make John Raymond's problem.
Exactly. So. There you go. So make sure you follow us, the podcast, on Instagram. You can do that at Perfect Lap Podcast. You can check out our website at perfectlappodcast.com, and you can email the show at maximumattack@perfectlappodcast.com. We're releasing episodes every other Thursday. You guys have heard me and Jager keep talking about it. It's actually, I haven't told Jager this, but I've got my flights booked for Button Willow. So he and I are going to be going out to finals. Nice. We're going to be doing some more, kind of what we did for Laguna. We're going to be out there. We're going to be talking to drivers. I'm not going to be able to drive, unfortunately, but I'm excited. Jager has been talking so much about Button Willow. I get to go and see it in person and see the cow town that is Button Willow. Yes.
Take it in.
Experience.
You get coated in the dust, the mythical dust. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited. We'll be back out there. The SDC guys are going to be back out there. Isaac Torres and Joel. Isaac was on our last podcast, so those guys are going to be out there. So it's going to be a good time. I think
they're actually doing some wheel to wheel with some of our buddies, some of our TC buddies who have little baby GridLife Touring Cup, the Western Touring Car Championship, which is effectively TC rules with a quiet blessing from me that I haven't told anybody else on my team about. So No.
There you go. Nice. You've still got a few days before this
fine.
comes
They've been
out.
doing it all year. They've been doing it all year. So.
Yeah. So be sure, so follow us. We'll keep you guys up to date with what's going on with Time Attack. You can find our episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. As always, thanks for listening. Adam, thank you so much for coming on. Excited for everything you guys are doing. Keep doing the great job. Even though I know you hate it.
I don't always love it.
Keep doing what you hate.
I don't always love it, but
I get it. So, thanks for coming on. Yeah. I'm sure we'll be talking in the near future. For all you time attackers out there, keep pushing, go fast, take chances. We'll see you in the next one.